Hey friends, welcome back. So today being September 10th, today's actually World Suicide Prevention Day, and I decided to do a song that kind of relates to this. It relates to it in a way that it relates to a lot of veterans of war, mainly. It's going to be Sabaton's song "To Hell and Back." Now, this is a story about Audie Murphy. Before I get into that, welcome to the channel. I thank you for joining us today. I have new content up 4 times a week. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support. If you're returning to the channel and you enjoy what you see, please subscribe and join this growing community. If you are returning as well, please like, share, and comment, and let's get into it. So, Audie Murphy was a soldier during World War II, but he was actually a lot more than just that. He also was an actor. He served in what was known as spaghetti westerns. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's movies that were filmed in Italy. That's where spaghetti comes from. But they were filmed in Italy, and they're like, the whole point of them is more so just to, because a lot of the Midwest was being created into what it is today. So it was really hard to film westerns in the United States. But in Italy, it didn't look that way. But Audie Murphy didn't. He gained his fame through that. He was in movies such as Red Badge of Courage. He played the main hero boy. They also made a movie about his life. Give me one moment while I find it. It's about him serving in World War II, and it's interesting because he served in the Texas. He was a Texas volunteer. He served in the Army Reserves, National Guard, and he was from Texas. And they're going to mention that in the song. But he started a film about his life, because a lot of people, this is probably some of you first time hearing about Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy was actually the most decorated American soldier in World War II. He won countless medals for bravery. He always led from the front. He rose to the ranks. He was very young when he joined the military, but he became a sergeant. I believe he ended his career as a sergeant, or he ended his career as a first lieutenant. And then he became a major in the Texas National Guard. He also served in the 15th Infantry Regiment. He served in the 3rd Infantry Division. And his unit in Texas was the 36th Infantry Division. But he also, in contents of today, was important in the fact that he suffered very badly from PTSD. He, like many veterans, he turned to drugs, because he didn't know how to cope with his PTSD. And what this song is actually about is how he did end up coping with it. What he ended up doing was locking himself in a hotel room, and, well, motel, I believe. But he locked himself up just so he could sober himself up. Now, this is actually one of the few times I'm going to actually use Sabaton's official videos. We're not going to go to my good friend A.S. Cotter, who we always use. We're going to be using Sabaton's official video, and we're going to get right into it. Alright, so like I said, we're going to be using the official Sabaton video. Another quick reminder, Audie Murphy also was a recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he is currently buried in Arlington National Cemetery. So I'm going to read this like we always do when they do have these. In World War II, millions of soldiers went into battle far away from their homes, and many of those who returned faced an enemy just as formidable as the forces they fought on the battlefield. Post-traumatic stress disorder was usually treated with quite ineffective yet highly addictive drugs. One of the men facing the horrors of World War II long after the war ended was First Lieutenant Audie Murphy from Kingston, Texas. Alright, let's go.
From Texas, a man of the wild, thrown into combat with bodies like iron. Hides his emotions, his blood's running cold. Just like his victories, his story unfolds. Right, our white light, if there be any glory in war, let it rest on men like him. Cross the scroll on Zion, where no soldiers sleep and where hell 6 feet deep. The deathless weight, there's no debate. So charge and attack, going to hell and back.
So, real quick, a lot of that video you just saw of like the World War II era, that is actually Audie Murphy. Like I said, he was in a movie about his own life because he was the most decorated man in the U.S. Army. But he was also suffered very badly because, you know, he got all these medals for doing heroic things. A lot of those heroic things involved losing friends and leading men into situations where they would be killed. You know, and right now you're watching, he's going through withdrawals, but this is also him suffering with those nightmares from the war. You know, he fought through Italy and into southern France. Actually, some of the words being used, you know, the crosses grow in Anzio, he actually, those are from him. He wrote poems and a journal about, you know, what was going on in his head and things, and one of the poems or entries he had was crosses grow on Anzio, where no man has peace, and so on. It's really it's horrible because he was such a bright-eyed person at the beginning to then have that taken away from him and suffer. But you know, right here he is working through it to figure out how to get better because he knows what's going to happen if he stays on these drugs.
Face down if they must die, making it easier to say goodbye. Right, our white light, if there be any glory in war, let it rest on men like him, who went to hell and came back. Cross the scroll on Zion, where no soldiers sleep and where hell 6 feet deep. The deathless weight, there's no debate. So charge and attack, going to hell and back. Oh, gather round me and listen while I speak. Our war, where hell is 6 feet deep. And all along the shore, where cannons still roar, they're haunting my grief, they're still there when I sleep.
Now, before we go into the classic Sabaton guitar solo, you know, I know this is imagery that using this video, especially considering what he just did with the handgun, but you know, this was a reality for a lot of the men who came back from World War II. You know, you have people like the men who liberated Dachau. You know, that wasn't even really war. That was just murder, what they found. The horrific mechanized murder of millions. And, you know, a lot of them themselves, you know, they suffered very badly, and sadly, they didn't feel they had anyone to go to in those situations with that trauma. And, you know, actually a famous thing happened at Dachau when U.S. soldiers massacred the guards. They lined them up after they found the camp and shot them all. Well, the ones that were still there. Which, again, it's not for us to judge in the future what those men were going through in their minds. But, you know, there were many people like Audie Murphy who unfortunately were not able to get through that because the things they saw and were part of. You know, think about men who made D-Day. What horrific things, you know, seeing friends on fire, seeing, you know, there's that famous story about when Saving Private Ryan came out and veterans had to actually leave during the D-Day scene because it triggered them that badly. So that's why we're doing this one today instead of another one, because today is World Suicide Prevention Day, and you know, you're never alone. There's always someone there willing to help you. And Audie, he figured out how to do it, and it's, you know, it's scary. It's a hard struggle, especially when you are addicted to narcotics. But, you know, sometimes you need to realize it's not the narcotics you need. It's just that voice, that ear that will listen to you.
He's our brothers go from Lazio, where no soldiers sleep and where hell 6 feet deep. The dead lost weight, there's no debate. He charged and attacked, he went to hell and back.
Quite some time after the war, Audie locked himself into a motel room for 7 days to get rid of his addiction to the drugs and was finally able to return to a normal life. Lieutenant Murphy received every military combat award for valor. That's what he obviously really looked like. These are all the awards he did receive through the conflict. Again, you know, the man was a hero, but there's this thing, you know, I'm from a police family, and, you know, I had a lot of people I knew involved in the September 11th attacks, and even then you had a lot of firemen, policemen, and everything who suffered because of the trauma of what they saw and what they were involved with. And, you know, as I said, you're not alone. I'm actually going to leave the link to the National Suicide Prevention Line, things like that. That's what's very important today. I know this isn't my usual speed. I usually do more about the facts and everything, but I thought Audie Murphy's story, I've been talking about him for a bit, and I wanted to do this video. A very, very close friend to me is a big fan of Audie Murphy, and unfortunately Audie Murphy died in a plane crash in the, I believe, 60s. And, you know, he'd cleaned up his life, he'd started making a better world for himself and his family. Sabaton actually, there's a story about Sabaton that his son actually came up to them at one of their concerts and gave them an autographed poster from his father that he'd signed before he passed away. But Audie Murphy was a hero. Let's back this up a bit just so we're not looking at Sabaton's merch as much as I love them. So we could look at actually Audie. There we go. Oh no, the merch is there. There we go. But yeah, Audie, he was a hero, and, you know, heroes aren't superhuman. Heroes sadly sometimes do struggle, and again, no one's ever alone. Alrighty, friends, so that was To Hell and Back, and actually the movie he was in, some of you are probably commenting on this right now because I'm an idiot. The movie he was in was actually called To Hell and Back too. But the reason I chose this for today's video, you're never alone. You know, we all struggle, we all need help, and it's not easy. It's not. You know, sometimes depression, PTSD, trauma in general, there's a lot of things that causes people to have certain feelings. But you're never alone. There's always someone there to talk to. There's always some help. And like I said, I will be leaving the phone line below to the suicide prevention line. And I actually am probably going to put it in the text on the video. Audie Murphy was able to find his way through it. He made a fantastic career. You know, he was in all these movies. He did a good job. Unfortunately, he would die early in a plane accident. But you are never alone. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great day. I'm not going to do my usual sign out just because the subject matter. Have a good one.